Alright, thought I'd start filming this little piece on another mod I'm doing. Basically want to look at some of the insulation, show you some of the insulation as well as, so all the Travato model 59G have this little panel above the Jensen radio and DVD player, and it's just a flat panel that's in the back here, stapled to the back. I took out the cover plate behind the TV and stuck a light in there and saw there was nothing behind there, so I pushed that panel out, and I've made a recessed box that I'm going to install in there. But before I do that, I'm going to start doing some insulation as I convert this to what I hope to be a four-season coach. Winnebago drives me crazy. It's my second Winnebago, but when you take things apart, this is the insulation that we have, and it's just, you can see a little bit of adhesive right there, and it's just kind of laid in there. And of course there's absolutely nothing up in here, up in the roof area. You can see where it slips down as you go back in behind the TV, and there's nothing moving forward either up toward the front. So I'm going to take that out. I'm going to do some additional insulation, seal it up good. So behind the TV, if you have this, you see this nice little storage thing, which is great for remotes and power cords and all that kind of stuff. But there's 4 screws. There's 2 down at the bottom here. There's 2 at the top here. If you take those little screws out and do a little bit of finagling, you can actually pull this out. And when you do that, I'll show you what's behind there. Give me a second with both hands, and then I'll show you what we got. All right, so I've got it out. Getting it out's a pain. If you're going to try to do this, let me kind of show you. You got this panel. You're going to fold this panel completely over. You're going to jam it back behind here, and then push it back in here, and then wiggle it back out. So don't be afraid to fold it up. It's just cardboard. It'll do fine. So here's the insulation. As you can see, look at this piece. There's nothing down behind. This is just metal. I don't know if you can tell. That's the metal of the coach. This just kind of sticks behind. So you got this piece that's probably, from where my fingers reach up to the top is at least 10, 12 inches. This is about 7. So it doesn't do a thing. So we're just going to pull that completely out of there. It's not sealed or anything, so that's, sorry about the movement. That's not helping us a bit. So now, as you can tell, this cabinet is actually a lot bigger than what they give you with this carpeted piece in there. But it is what it is, so I'm not going to try to enlarge that because I want to get that insulated better and insulate all the way back through here. If you're going to do solar panels, getting the wires through and stuff, this is definitely an area that's helpful, because I was able to bring my wires up down through here and get behind this cabinet to put my solar controller in. So that was real helpful to have that out and have access to that cabinet up there. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on insulation, and I'll pop back in and show you what I've done. So got some insulation in here now. I'm using Roxol mineral wool, and I've got insulation now back up in there. I've also stuffed it back into the top of the roof edge, and I've taken this front piece off as well, the trim piece in here, and I've got some insulation up in the top there, and I'm going to insulate that whole area before I put the trim piece back. And this is a trim piece that Winnebago has, and they just put a couple screws in there to hold it in, and you can pop it right out. And again, that's just all hollow, uninsulated area. It's actually more storage area if you don't mind the less finished look. I think this is an original tray that ProMaster probably had in there, and they just kind of screwed a piece of wood in to support this little trim piece to dress it up, make it look a little nicer. I don't really need that space, so I'm going to go ahead and just insulate and put that piece back in there. So I'm going to go ahead now with some foil, air seal, tape it up, and then I'll get both the new recessed shelf unit in here, and I'll put the trim piece back in here, seal that up. Did leave you know, airspace in here, obviously, for the radio. So there's space back behind there. There's where the vent will, the shelf will be up here. There'll be plenty of airspace in there. This is a little cabinet that's above the pantry. So here's the refrigerator and the pantry, and there's a wood piece that is screwed in with 4 screws in the back. And when I did my solar wiring, of course, took that out to get the wires down from the roof. But you can see that there's quite a bit of space. There's probably 7 or 8 inches back behind there. It's really just a mess of wires. It's not really thought out, I don't think, all that well. Could have been made deeper with a little bit of extra effort. I think if I actually took these out, just pushed them back, I'd have to trim the panel down because the roof does begin to taper down. But really, goes for at least another probably 2 or 3 inches at least in depth, and I'm going to get that all insulated as well before I seal that back up. I'm not going to worry about that for the time being. I'll just unplug the microwave just to get that in there. An interesting thing I found in here, and I called Winnebago to try to find out what. I haven't traced it down on the wiring diagram, which just became available for the 2016s. But when I opened this up, I found this connector. It's got a green and a black probably number 4. Can't quite read it, but I think it's you know, obviously battery cable, 12 volt. Not sure if this is intended, what this is for. I had hoped it was originally maybe for, you know, solar, but it's not. I had to trace my wires all the way back to the batteries from the solar controller. I found this went up and across the ceiling. And again, I haven't traced it in the wiring diagram, but if I find out, I'll follow up and let you know, or if you know, let me know. Maybe for a inverter, I don't know, but I'd be curious to know where it all goes and where it's connected or not connected or whatever. But it's prepped and it's ready to go. Just got to figure out what it is. So called Winnebago, they had no idea. So interesting. So I'll get this taped up and sealed, and then I'll come back and show you what I did. Okay, so now we've got the foil in here, and you can see we got it sealed up pretty tight, taped in with metal tape. Got it behind that bulkhead right there. Got it all the way through here. Again, sealed up tight as I can get it. It's taped down at the bottom, and yet we've got clearance back here. Got access to all the wires and everything packed back in there, sealed up pretty good back in the corner. And then in here, I'm just going to go with the rock wool, filling in that space, and I'm just going to go ahead and reinstall this this piece back in there the way it goes, and call it a day. I want to be taping to the headliner and all that kind of stuff, so I think that'll be fine. So I'll go ahead and get these put back together, or at least get this one put back together, and then show you the little recessed box that I've made to fit in here. So here's the finished product. Got this recessed storage area. You can see I got a little box of tissues in here. Kind of sized it specifically for that, as big as I could get at least. Trimmed it out with the panel that was in there for the back, so that it matches the cherry finish. And then I used some pre-finished outside corner molding. Grain pattern's a little off, it's oak pattern, but it works good color-wise and gives it kind of a very original look. And I've got the panel back in behind the TV. That's fully insulated now, screwed back in, sealed up. I haven't screwed this trim panel in, but it's fully insulated, so I'll get that secured in there as well. And now that whole area is, I think, looks pretty good. And the next step will be getting into this cabinet, which I think I showed you earlier. Has the panel out, a lot of wires back there, but a lot of room for insulation. And then I'll work down underneath the coat closet and get that fully insulated underneath this seat. This is where all the plumbing is, and got to figure out what we're going to do. First I got to get this mess cleaned up. So one more project down.